Good morning in UK, good morning as well in Zambia. Today we have a match between the two teams who are having their second second match of the group phase, sorry. So this is the University of Lusaka and King's College London will be debating today on topics they received a week ago. My name is Aurélien Lorange for the Corax Foundation. I will be hosting this match between the two teams, and they will be, of course, knowing during the session which position they will have. We'll all know at the time, but it is time to give them the floor to introduce themselves, obviously. So we start with Miss Guzminova. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Sophie. I am a first year dual degree English law and French law student at King's College London.
Thank you, welcome. We have as well in Zambia Sizwani Mwale. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Zwani, second year law student at the University of Lusaka.
Welcome. We have as well Mr. Josas Sepla. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Josas Tsepla, and I am a first-year Law LLB student at King's College London. Thank you.
Welcome. We have as well Mulima Kaluwe in Lusaka.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mulima Kaluwe. I'm a third-year student at the University of Lusaka.
Welcome. We have as well Miss Carla Ross in London.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Carla. I'm studying English law and German law at King's, and I'm a first-year student. Thanks for being here, and thanks for meeting you all.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Welcome. And we have as well Mbulo Mwaba. Welcome.
Good morning. My name is Mwabambulo, and I'm a third-year law student here at the University of Lusaka.
Thank you. Welcome. I mentioned as well that there are two coaches on the side of the University of Lusaka, Professor Teresa Lumbama Caputo and Miss Nicole Tanyarazoa Boigna. And on the side of King's College, we as well thank very much Elsa King's College London, who, let's say, made it possible for King's College to participate and as well to have the students being prepared for this competition. So the topic which was sent a week ago to both teams was all space activities related to commercial exploitation of outer space must remain consistent with the principles of non-appropriation, peaceful use, and equitable access. So now I will share my screen and we'll know which position each team will have, and the team will be in favor will be starting the match. So as you can see, there are two possibilities, two chances for this match to be in favor or to be against the motion. So for this match, yes, as the team will be in favor, of course, will be starting the match. So I will activate now the randomizer, and the team will be, and the team in favor will be King's College London. So King's College London will be in favor and will be starting with the first introduction. As a consequence, of course, the University of Lusaka will be against the motion. So it means concretely, King's College London will defend the position that all space activities related to commercial exploitation of outer space must remain consistent with the principles of non-appropriation, peaceful use, and equitable access, while the University of Lusaka will defend the position that all space activities related to commercial exploitation of outer space must not remain consistent with the principle of non-appropriation, peaceful use, and equitable access. So now you have 5 minutes to review your notes, and then we'll start with the introduction by King's College London. Here we are done with the 5 minutes of preparation, so I stop sharing my screen. And before we'll hear the introduction by King's College London, I want to remind that when you will see the yellow card, it means you still have 30 seconds. You can continue to speak, of course. When you will see the red card, it means you may finish your sentence, but not start a new one, otherwise the judge might penalize you. So now I will give the floor for the first introduction to the team from King's College London. You have 4 minutes.
Hi, can you hear me all right? Is
Yes,
everything
you're audible and
okay?
visible.
So then I will start in 1, 2, 3. Dear ladies and gentlemen, my name is Carla Roth, and I'm the first speaker in I am for the motion that all space activities related to the commercial exploitation of outer space must remain consistent with the principles of non-appropriation, peaceful use, and equitable access. And after my short introduction, my teammates from King's College London will expand on why we think those principles are important to govern space law, and especially commercial exploitation. So imagine a future where space is a hub for the good of all of humanity, where equality, prosperity, and innovation govern all commercial activity. But this hinges on 3 principles: non-appropriation, peaceful use, and equitable access. First, I would like to start by defining each of those principles and also commercial exploitation. Commercial exploitation is a term that refers to all activities that are used to benefit commercially from one's property. Non-appropriation asserts that no nation can claim sovereignty over outer space or celestial bodies. This is to be found in Article 2 of the Outer Space Treaty of 1967. In Article 4 of the Outer Space Treaty, we can find the principle of peaceful use. This mandates that all activity in space may not be used for military purposes, but peaceful purposes. This is essential for global security. And then the third principle is equitable access. It guarantees that all countries, regardless of their economic developmental status, can get access to space and benefit from the resources or the activities in space. This is to be found in Article 1 of the Outer Space Treaty and thereby stresses its importance. A short historical background to why those principles are important is the Cold War, where the US and the Soviet Union during the space race extended the Cold War to space, where it was seen as dominance over the other country to be first in some kind of space activity. Therefore, our arguments will heavily depend on how important the principles of non-appropriation, peaceful use, and equitable access are to govern space activities for global security and also to guarantee their effectiveness. All 3 of those principles form an interconnected framework where equitable access is tied to non-appropriation, is tied to peaceful use. So the risk of ignoring all of those principles together, or one of those principles and therefore the other 2, can be quite big. So if states can claim sovereignties in space, this could lead to territorial conflicts and even more wars in space. Therefore, also going against the principle of peaceful use. Unclaimed valuable resources may prompt competition and the potential for armed conflicts as well. War activities in space create a huge risk, as was seen from space debris from military tests in 2021, from anti-satellite tests Russia did, that led the ISS to do a very dangerous maneuver in 2022, so that the European Society of International Law was even of the opinion that space debris could create a belt around space of debris that is not to be accessed anymore through spaceships, creating intergenerational inequality as well as inequality that we see between countries. So supporting non-appropriation is very important. Yeah, I
Thank
guess
you.
I'm.
Yes, thank you very much for your introduction. Now I give the floor to the team from the University of Lusaka for your introduction. You have as well 4 minutes.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible and visible.
I will begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Honorable Chair, esteemed judges and members of the House, as well as respected proposition, good morning. I am the first speaker from the opposing delegation, strongly opposing to the motion that states all space activities related to the commercial exploitation of outer space must remain consistent with the principles of non-appropriation, peaceful use, and equitable access. Our speech will focus on how strict non-appropriation undermines economic incentives, how peaceful use principles are ambiguous and unrealistic, and how equitable access slows innovations and bureaucracy, and how these principles are outdated. Members of the House, let's go back to the history of these laws. These strict principles were created in the times of the Cold War to address issues of hostile operations and military innovations. We have seen how the world has revolved because these laws were created 60 years ago. But now we can see that there are other gaps in the law that need addressing. For example, how private companies are investing their own money to retract resources from outer space and how they're benefiting the global community. We can see an example from the North Sea continental shelf case of 1969. The case stated that, of course, natural resources are beneficial for everyone, but resources that are proximate to countries must be used. In analogy, we can say that countries or companies that are investing millions and billions of their money into space missions can be credited a fair amount of the investment and profits that they are getting from the moon and from space or all over the world. So we can state that this is important to ensure that space resources are used practically and sustainable for the global community. Because what is happening, as a practical example of SpaceX, companies are failing to invest billions from their own companies to go and get things from outer space because they are afraid that they're not to get anything in return. But we can say that that disadvantages the global community because we can see that these innovations in space are benefiting the global community at large because we're having new discoveries like possibilities of life in space. And also these innovations can help us like look at challenges. Like, for example, we don't know if a new discovery can help us fix world hunger, find new energy resources, or even fix climate change. Secondly, peaceful use is unclear and impractical. We can see an example of how GPS was created. It has civilian and military uses. If we say that space is only going to be used for military use and strictly applying this principle, it's going to make companies fear to invest more into space technologies because we don't know whether these technologies are also going to help the global community in having new innovations that are helpful to the entire global community at large. We can also see that equitable access slows innovation and creates bureaucracy. How? Members of the House, imagine if every proposal was put on every country's table. How long is it going to take for new innovation and development to take place? The Pulp-Miss case of 2010 stated that, of course, we want countries to participate in everything and make statements in everything that every country is stating, but it's going to slow down the progress of development. This is going to ensure that the country is moving at a slower rate, and this is not what we do not want, members of the House. People of the House, we can say that it's important to ensure that this does not slow down innovation because we want a global community that is new to change. We want the legal system to handle these challenges and to ensure that access to the global community and space at large benefits these companies, countries, and the global community at large. Therefore, as the opposition, we strongly oppose that this should not be allowed. I submit.
Thank you very much. So we just heard the introductions, so now we'll move to the first rebuttals. We hear the first rebuttal on the side of the King's College London. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Honorable judges and members of the opposition, I thank you for presenting your arguments, and they are great arguments. However, we choose to disagree with them on the basis that, first of all, you mentioned how allowing states to claim sovereignty over celestial bodies would encourage innovation, and not allowing them would do the opposite. However, if states were allowed to claim sovereignty, and as sovereignty was famously defined by Rousseau, sovereignty comes from the will of the people. As states, as it stands, do not have people on celestial bodies unless they are shipped there, allowing such a claim for sovereignty, especially including the millions and billions in investment, as you mentioned, would justify invasions on Earth. The proposal by, to use an example, Donald Trump to do in Gaza of forcefully dislocating the Palestinians away and making a Gaza an epicenter for U.S. investments, if Americans are shipped over to Gaza, would allow a claim for sovereignty on the same basis that the U.S. could claim sovereignty over the moon or other celestial bodies, per your explained precedent. Moreover, the peaceful use principle does not preclude military being used for its more, how do I say it, communal manner. The Article 3 of the Moon Agreement actually allows military to be used for non-aggressive purposes, such as for assisting in research. So humanity could still get the benefit of using military for their efficiency and other rigor, while, how do I say this, removing the negative side effects of the space being weaponized and weapons of mass destruction being held potentially by people who have no connection to Earth and have nothing to use from using them, thus negating the principle of mutually assured destruction. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We hear now the first rebuttal as well from the University of Lusaka. You have 2 minutes.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, I'll be starting in 1, 2, 3. Firstly, we as the opposers are here to argue towards the exploitation and extraction of resources in outer space, not towards sovereignty, as is provided for in Article 2 of the Outer Space Treaty. It is conceded to and agreed upon the fact that these principles, when applied towards the international community, relate to peaceful use as well as the prevention of militarization. However, we're here to argue about the commercial use of outer space by private entities, who then go forward to explore as well as to make discoveries in outer space in relation to commercial exploration, not sovereignty. We're here to argue that when it comes to the application of these principles, strict application restricts the ability for these private entities to then work alongside the whole of the international community, in that there's no proper incentive, as well as some might argue award system, for these entities, knowing that through strict application, they cannot actively go out and make explorations and discoveries. There's no relation towards science and technology, in that they'll be knowing that they're applying these principles in relation to militarization and in the acquisition of land. We're here to argue that we're looking towards extraction of resources, not sovereignty. Sovereignty relates to the acquisition of land as well as the taking of resources from other people. We're looking towards an uninhabited and abundant form of resources that relates to commercial activities, private entities going out into space, as was provided for by my colleague about SpaceX and their space technology. We're arguing towards the fact that aside from sovereignty and the application of these principles, there's the prevention of discovery as well as the prevention of these states being able to actively participate in relation to equitable use, a principle that we have conceded to is needed. However, if we're to make these principles more relaxed and more lax, we provide for the fact that there will be economic development, there will be sustainable development, in that there's no placement upon these states in relation to the fact that they're not limited towards what they can actually do in outer space. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we move to the second rebuttals. We start with the second rebuttal by the team from King's College London. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you for the argument, Honorable Opposition. However, a problem in your argument is that the non-appropriation principle, as it stands, as it is currently applied, actually allows for the exploitation or gathering of space resources by, among others, private entities. To see how it's applied, one must only look at the Commercial Space Launch Act implemented by the United States in 2015. And as the United States is the primary spacefaring nation, it's probably worth considering. it allows for companies to extract resources and to receive benefits from said resources in monetary terms or otherwise, while still prohibiting the claims of sovereignty or other forms of ownership of said space resources. So the non-appropriation principle as it stands, as it's applied without being loosened, actually serves not to stifle, but I would even argue encourage private investment and all the benefits that come from private investment into space. Moreover, to address an argument made by our first speaker about equitable access, I believe it is important to proliferate equitable access, and it's because countries have started their industrialization at different points in time because of varying reasons, and countries that have started their industrialization earlier, such as, among others, United States, Russia, China, are now in a position to benefit much more from space resources due to purely incidental factors. So why should countries that industrialized later be denied of space resources, even though certain countries, such as my home country of Lithuania, have made tremendous progress in developing space technology, specifically lasers? Why should it be denied by the fact that the space is quote unquote occupied and all the primary space stations and space missions are spearheaded by the nations that developed earlier? So the equitable access principle, it does not stifle innovation, it encourages it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now here the second rebuttal on the side of the University of Lusaka. You have 2 minutes.
All right, I'll begin in 3, 2, 1. Before I proceed, I would like to thank all my colleagues, both from the proposing and opposing delegation, for their well-articulated arguments. Now, in opposing the motion, firstly, I'd like to start by saying that these principles that are being argued for are outdated. As earlier alluded to by my colleagues, these principles were enacted after the Cold War to prevent any military innovation, any military interference or war that may take place between the US and Russia. Now, as we see, if you read the wording of the principles within the Outer Space Treaty, you can see that these principles do not cover issues such as private institutions going into space to mine or excavate minerals from celestial bodies, and it also doesn't cover the states themselves to do these things. And as we can see, that development of humankind is dynamic and is changing every single day. As such, we can't say that we should stay, that these principles should determine and should be able should be in place to ensure that space activity is consistent with them, because they don't deal with these issues. Because we can see an instance where we see states going to space and they'll unfairly exploit these celestial bodies, which will prove to be disadvantageous to developing states who will not be able to go there. And also, we would also like to say that allowing this motion will promote conflict, because as we can see, when we disallow the appropriation of space, that means different states can go into space at different times, and then they have to share that space and portion at the same time, which may lead to conflict. As such, as the opposing delegation, we propose that actually we can have a central body that exists to be able to curtail and actually manage how space is going to be used. A central body which will determine the appropriation, basically meaning that states will not be sovereign to that place, but for a certain period of time, they'll be able to be governed by the central body to use that place for a specific period of time. This will be able to curtail the arbitrariness and also to prevent any conflict overall. With those few points, I submit.
Thank you very much. Now we are reaching the conclusions, so I will give the floor first to the King's College London for your conclusion. You have 2 minutes.
Am I just audible just to check before I start? Okay, 3, 2, 1. Dearest judges, dearest jury, and dearest University of Lusaka, we have all heard the points made today by both sides. However, it is evident that we stand firm by our affirmations that these principles must be maintained at all costs. It is evident that the key point of debate today was power dynamics. So, ladies and gentlemen, envision a future where we are overshadowed by the perils of the past and earthly conflicts that are now broadened to a larger landscape of space. A society in which the richer and privileged of states and nation states are able to exploit these resources without any limitations. These are not mere suggestions, these principles. They are mechanisms to bring forward and to maintain equity and equality base principles and fundamental rights within our society. As mentioned kindly by my two partners, non-appropriation, peaceful use, and equitable access are non-negotiable for the prevention of war and to maintain peace within our society. I'd like to firstly bring back the first speaker, the opening speaker's mention of innovation. We are not opposed against innovation. We are for innovation. However, we believe that innovation must be maintained within the constraints of equity and equality so everyone can benefit and not just the richest in our society. Even if there's an abundance of resources, it is clear that there is a disequilibrium present in our societies, and these principles help maintain and help the poorest of nations still catch up and be able to have a standing position within our society. So we would like to thank the judges and the opposing team. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we hear as well the conclusion on the side of the University of Lusaka. You have 2 minutes as well.
Thank you. So what we have gotten from the proposers is in relation to sovereignty as well as non-militarization of outer space in appliance of the principles. However, we feel that our points heavily outweigh theirs because we're not relating towards sovereignty and militarization. We're talking about the not so strict application of these principles upon states to allow for innovation as well as development. We do concede to the fact that these principles do need to be applied in relation to outer space and when it comes to militarization and peaceful use. However, we're speaking towards the fact that as we live in a more modern society, outdated principles such as these must not be strictly applied towards legislation and frameworks that may newly be developed in relation to commercial exploitation. We had argued that sovereignty does not mean that it relates to the extraction of resources. We've argued that when it comes to these principles, they're in strict application, but we do not believe in strict application. We believe in making sure that these principles may be lax because we do believe that innovation and economic development may come through the relaxing of these principles towards private entities, as well as allowing for developing nations to take part, as they may not have actual space. They might not have actual space-related activities, but through partnerships with these entities, it does allow for free use and the fact that these entities will all be able to participate in relation to outer space. We're looking towards modernization and the fact that these principles were created in reaction to a war, but we're talking about commercial extraction and exploitation. And we're relating to the fact that when it comes to these principles, they may be applied to the fact that these states are to know that they're not meant to actually engage in conflict in outer space. We have conceded to that, but we're relating to the fact that when it comes to these economic developments and the forms of innovation, we need these private entities and these states to be incentivized in relation to their exploration of outer space. They must know that when it comes to outer space, there is a need for them to actually explore and innovate and reach development. Thank you very much. I rest my case.
Thank you. So we just heard both conclusions, so it means that yes, we are in the post-phase match, and from now you are not under evaluation by the judge. So you can rest a bit, you can of course relax, sip a bit of water if you want, and now I will ask for your impression on this match, on the preparation on the topic, and performance of the teams. And after that we'll be doing a bit of networking between the two teams. So first, I would like to give the floor to Miss Guzminova. What did you think about the match, the topic, and the performance of both teams?
I believe that both teams did really well. The points that were raised are very key and important to the discussion. And obviously, I think that we both had quite similar points to when we did research. So it's clear that both the teams did a lot of research and a lot of preparations for the debate.
Thank you. Sizwani Mwale, what did you think about the match?
I think it was a good debate overall. I think the emotion is actually quite important. I think beyond the realms of this debate is something that should be discussed internationally because it deals with issues that are taking place right now, which are of vital importance. So I think this is a good stepping stone for us to begin here, and then hopefully the international community can take up from us.
Thank you. What do you think, Mr. Josas Sepla?
Thank you. I really enjoyed the debate. I enjoyed the debating against the team of University of Lusaka. I watched your debate against the University of Sofia, and just the way you present the arguments is so elegant. It's so nice to sort of deal with those arguments, to counteract them. So this was a very enjoyable experience. And the topic in itself, I preferred it much more to the previous motion. It was very focused. It allowed us to concentrate on a very specific set of principles. And as the colleague mentioned, it's an important topic to be discussed in the current state of affairs. So it's definitely useful.
Thank you. Mulima Kaloué, what do you think about the match?
It was a very exciting debate, especially because this topic was outside of our view. So it was good to actually go out and get new research points as well as find out different things about outer space law. And it was good to hear the perspective of the proposers and how they had looked at points that we might have argued if we were proposing, as well as the points that we as opposers had made. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Miss Carla Ross, what do you think about the match?
I also really enjoyed the match. I think the University of Lusaka has a very strong team, and the motion was it was very good to debate about those three principles in particular. I think especially because space law is still quite young compared to maybe other areas of law, and there's a lot of potential to what if, to look out into the future and just build up an argument for both sides, which was really nice. So yeah, overall I really enjoyed the match.
Thank you. Mbulo, Mwaba, what do you think about the match?
I think it was very nice. I didn't know we even had like treaties like the Outer Space Treaty and the Moon Agreement, because our law here mostly focuses on land and water. So it was interesting to research and find out that these treaties exist. And I'm really looking forward to how the legal system actually fills in these gaps and what new agreements are going to come in relation to outer space and how the global community at large can benefit from it. So it was really nice to look at, and the proposing delegation also did a great job because most of their arguments were what we also read on, and they really articulated them very well.
Thank you very much. So I want to add as well that indeed the space law is not something that you study in year 1, year 2, or even in bachelor studies in general. It's more an advanced field of law, but it is a mix of other areas of law, plus of course some treaties. And this is maybe an inspiration for you in the future, maybe to continue to explore this area and have a job. And there are very, very nice jobs in that field, from what I know. Among the judges, there are some experts as well in space law, and as well there are some master programs who exist in few countries. So it's something maybe indeed you can have in mind. So now I want to tell you that the 3 judges will be assessing the match. 1 judge is in the Netherlands, 1 is in Saudi Arabia, and 1 is in the US. So we send them greetings, of course, for their time, and as well for reviewing this match. We'll have 2 business days, so it means around the end of the week you might expect maybe the 3 grading rubrics in your email box and the result of the match. Now for this very last part of the match, I will do a bit of different questions for your first match. So the first question is, have you watched some other match, some other debates during this competition, and as well in previous competitions, and as well did you maybe had contact with previous participants or current participants already outside of the match? So my question is for each team. So we start first with the University of Lusaka. So did you speak with the previous participants? Have you watched some other match before this match?
Yes, we did actually. And it was quite interesting to see different debating styles from ours. And it's also notable that you can see how different coaches have different points of view and approaches to take on depending on the motion. So it was interesting to watch other debates from the other teams.
Yes, and did you speak to the previous participants or not at all?
In reference to speaking to the previous participants, we hadn't actually gotten the chance to. We hope to do so later on, because we did have an interesting debate with them, and we would be interested in keeping a line of communication. So we will venture out to speaking to them.
Yeah, but some of them do reach out on LinkedIn, like one of the previous ones. We're able to connect on LinkedIn and see what's going on in their lives, so which is really fun.
Okay, thank you. Same question now for the team in King's College. So I remember there was another team, 2 students who participated 2 years ago, I think. So in general, did you watch any other match? Did you watch the match of other teams of this edition or previous edition? And have you been in contact with the 2 students who participated from King's College in previous edition? So question for, I don't know, Mr. Chepla or Miss Ross or Miss Kuzminova?
So we have spoken to one of the previous participants who maybe gave us some like guidance and some like sort of like tips from her experience whilst participating. As for watching perhaps like some of the previous matches, I myself I watched the against the University of Lusaka and the University of Sofia, and we thought that was a very interesting debate and a very interesting topic. I also go around to watch the sort of French debate between McGill in Canada and the University, I think, of Madagascar. So it's very interesting to see how sort of different debating styles, and also how, like, I guess debating styles vary between like both like English and French. So yeah.
And for the 2 other students?
I mean, yeah, we had a look at the Sofia Lusaka match together as well. Yeah, we kind of, I think the other two also had kind of an option to compare it to, because it's a because the topics obviously from like match 1 were kind of they had an option to compare there, and I think that was also when the topics kind of align. Sometimes it's easier, because I also feel like debating styles sometimes can relate to the topic. There are just some topics that are maybe more emotionally charged for some people than others. So yeah, that's also the distinction I would add to.
Thank you. Mr. Sepla?
I have watched another match by myself, which was in the 2024 debates of the University of Monash against the University of, I'm really afraid to mispronounce this, but Antigua in Colombia.
Antioquia.
And close enough. And I really enjoyed the debating style in that match, and that was the primary source from which I learned how to debate and present my arguments here.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah, last year, actually, for these 2 teams, one was the previous winner of 2023, and Monash finished at the 3rd place of 2024. And they knew each other from what I saw from before, because they were connecting as well on LinkedIn. So yes, very different styles, and when you see indeed the other teams, yeah, you can see that they have different way to inform on the introduction about their different points, etc. So it helps to get some inspiration. Some are extremely, I would say, well organized. Some are very creative as well. So yes. And now, last question. If you would like to thank some persons who are helping you, supporting you during this competition, encouraging you, who would it be? So my question is first for the team from King's College London. So your student association, friends, family, parents, cousins, I don't know. So Miss Kuzminova.
Sorry, I realized my mic's off. Well, I'd say we have like quite a lot of support from I'd say like our friends, and also from obviously some people who have competed in the competition before. They hope we get us as far as possible in the competition, and yeah, I'd say also as well as the Ulster Society at King's College London has helped us out quite a bit. So yeah, that's I'd say who has helped us out the most. Yeah.
Thank you. On the side of Lusaka?
I'd like to give a very big thanks to our coaches as well as to our previous participants. They've been with us every step of the way, ensuring that we're not too nervous. We know exactly what it is that we feel we must say, and they make sure that we're encouraged to know that as this is our first time in the competition, we still know that we're still supposed to take this calmly, and that the main mission here is to have fun and to know that these debates are supposed to actually help us. And I'd also like to give a big thanks to my family, who I know are most likely talking in the family group chat as they're probably watching. So thank you to them as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. I don't know if the two other member wants to add something. No, but I can confirm that yes, indeed, additionals are watching and they're commenting as well. I see the comments. And yes, for Mwaba, I see a comment. But yes, so greetings as well to the viewers. So the result of this match will be issued in a few days from now. And for the next match, the third match, the last match of the group phase, of course you will have a match against the team you did not meet yet in the group. And of course, in this group there is as well Sofia University and Kathmandu University. They will have their own match, a day to match. They got it yesterday, actually, sorry. So yes, you will receive the topic 1 week in advance, and this time the area of law will be international trade law. So it will be commercial law, trade law. So yes, so a different area of law, but a bit more maybe familiar if you are studying already trade law in your law studies. So I would like to thank all of you. Now this is the end of the session, and I will send you, of course, the results as soon as we get them, and as soon as we get even 2 of them, because it's something we do this year as well, we'll communicate the interim result and as well with grading rubrics. So that will be during the next days. Voilà. So thank you again, and I wish you a great rest of the week, and we keep in touch. Thank you. Bye bye. Thank you. Bye bye.